How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Rangers Rundown. Another 10 games of this season have gone by, so let's take a look back and see how the Rangers have done in this third section of 10 games. We go back 10 games, and it was against Philadelphia, where they won 4-1. Then they beat San Jose in that very tight defensive game. They won 1-0. And then they played Chicago and won 3-2. So at that point, that was a 7-game. They played Chicago again at home, and they won 6-2. And at that point, that was a 7-game winning streak, which is the longest the Rangers have had in a short while. But then they play Colorado, and we all try to forget that game. It was, like we said before, it was a scheduled loss. They didn't have Igor. It was the second night of a back-to-back. Things happen. So they lose to Colorado 7-3. Colorado also very hot. They had scored, 7 goals in a game for three games in a row. So there was really no chance the Rangers were going to beat them. But then they go to Buffalo and they win 2-1. There was that controversial goal called back because Buffalo was offside. Some people were upset about that, but I'm sure most of them have forgotten about it already, unless you're a diehard Buffalo fan, in which case, I don't know, there's a whole lot of season left. Then Nashville comes to town and they lose 1-0 in that frustrating loss against Nashville. Then they go out west, they go Colorado, they lose 4-2, but then they beat Arizona 3-2 in a game that probably should have been a blowout, but we're not going to complain about it because it's 2 points. And then, of course, last night, Vegas comes to town where they lose 3-2 in the shootout. A game that I am not upset that they lost in extra time. If they had blown the lead in regulation and lost 2 points, I would have been upset. But Vegas tied it late. We go to overtime. Overtime was really fun to watch. They end up losing in the shootout. I'm okay with that. Shasturkan's out. Panarin's out. It's still a point. So 6-3-1 over their last 10 games, which, ask most hockey fans, is a pretty good record over a 10-game span. 13 out of a possible 20 points. I would say that's pretty good. The Rangers went their last 2 sets of 10 games. They had 7 wins each. So this game, they are backing off of their extremely hot pace, but it's still really nothing to be concerned about. Panarin will be back soon. Shasturkan will be back soon. They have a long break right now until Wednesday where they can start to discuss how they're going to fix this 5-on-5. Maybe a little bit of line shuffling. It's still technically an incomplete team. We'll see what moves they make and how soon they make those moves, because the Rangers, if they want to make a deep cup run this year, they need to add one more piece to this top 9. It is right now incomplete. So we'll see who they go after. Maybe we'll have a discussion about that on the Rangers Rundown Instagram. The next 10 games, December 22nd, Montreal comes to town, which should be a win. Then Christmas break, on the 27th, they play Detroit. Now, Detroit is playing better than we would have thought they would this season, really being led by their 2 rookies this season. Sider and what's his other name? The 2 rookies on Detroit have really been leading the way. Larkin's been playing well this year as well. So that game, it should be a win. It's at home. Detroit's not one of the top 10 teams in the league. Hopefully the Rangers can put together 2 wins there. Then they go to Florida on the 29th. Now, they lucked out in their first game of the year against Florida. Will they beat them again? It's hard to say. Maybe. If they lose, hopefully it's in overtime, so we at least get a point. Then on New Year's Eve, they go to Tampa Bay, a team that is also playing pretty well. Then they have the home, so we come back on January 2nd and play Tampa Bay 2 games in a row. If the Rangers go 0-4, 0 points out of 4 points through those 2 games against Tampa, this might be the worst 10-game stretch for the Rangers this season, these next 10 games, because then the following night, Edmonton comes to town. Now, the Edmonton's been struggling as of late, so if they continue to struggle, that's good news for the Rangers. But you have Florida, Tampa, Edmonton, Vegas, Anaheim. There's a 6-game stretch right here where worst case scenario, the Rangers drop 6 games in a row. They won't, at least I hope they don't, but this could be a really rough stretch. They end the next 10 games against LA and San Jose, so maybe this is going to be a win sandwich. They win 2 here, they win 2 here, and then in here, 1 or 2 wins and overtime loss. So by the end of these 10 games, we're almost halfway through January. So Vegas, they do their West Coast swing. So January 6th, they're at Vegas, the 8th, they're at Anaheim, 10th, LA, and then 13th, San Jose. So a lot of late night games. I'll be very tired at work in this part of January. But by the end of this 10 games, I'm hoping the Rangers have 5 wins. Like, I'm hoping these next 10 games, the Rangers can play 500 hockey. Maybe 5-3-2, 5-4-1. I think might be the next 10 games for this team. Hopefully, could be 4 wins. I think 5-4-1 for these next 10 games. That's my prediction. 5-4-1. Shasturkan, 13-3-2. He's obviously missed the last 8 games. So the last game he played was the San Jose game where he got injured. He's missed the last 8. Hopefully he comes back soon, though. He'll probably play against Montreal. But again, if he's not totally ready, the Rangers have another 5 days before Detroit, and hopefully Georgiev can handle Montreal. So if Shasturkan's not 100% by Wednesday, just sit him out another game. It's really not that much of a problem. Georgiev should be able to handle Montreal, and then Shasturkan gets another 5 days before Detroit. So hopefully he's back, but if not, not a big deal. 13-3-2 for him, 205 goals against, and 937 save percentage. He is top 5 in the league right now for goalies. Absolutely, no question. Georgiev, in Shasturkan's absence, has played decent. 5-3-2, his record so far this year, 287 goals against, and a 902 save percentage. So a goals against under 3, a save percentage over 0.9. He's a starter mentally, but a backup in performance. He's one of these weird players. If he plays 60 games in a season, maybe these stats get better. Maybe he's the kind of goalie that needs to just keep playing in order to be good. Stopping and starting is really not his style. But again, for the Rangers, once Shasturkan comes back, Georgiev's just going to sit there, and that's not in his best interest developmentally. So maybe Georgiev's getting tired of being in New York. That would be the best case scenario if Georgiev is in on being traded, because then that makes the process a little bit easier. Then we get into the players. So leading the team in points is Panarin, who is injured, but hopefully it's not that serious, and he's back soon. 29 games, 9 goals, 24 assists, 33 points, +5. He's been on this whole year. 33 points in 29 games. Yeah, he's elite. Fox, 30 games, 5 goals, 26 assists, 31 points, +7. He will be in the Norris conversation again by the end of this season, 100%. It's hard to win that award 2 years in a row. He's going to push and he's going to try and do it. He has to contend with Makar and Hedman and Yossi and McAvoy, but if by the end of the season Fox is a point-a-game defenseman, he's gonna be in the conversation, very well in the conversation. Kreider, 30 games, 18 goals, 8 assists, 26 points, and he's a +2. 26 points in 30 games for Kreider, 18 of which are goals, 11 of which are power play goals. This guy, he's just park him in front of the net, and he does that job really well. He's on pace to crack 30 goals very easily. Zibanejad, 30 games, 7 goals, 18 assists, 25 points, +1. He has not been the goal scorer that we've needed him to be, that he has been in the past, but he is quietly putting up assists. He's quietly driving offense. Now, is the first line the most productive line in terms of offense on this team? It depends on the night. Some nights, yes. Some nights, no. That second line, when Panarin's in, is really good. And the kid line, the third line, is also really good. So once Zibanejad starts scoring goals at a pace that we are familiar with, I think the 5-on-5 play is going to get much better. Strome, 26 games, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points, and he's a +1. he's quietly been one of the Rangers' best players since he got to New York. And he's always been under this shadow of, we need to get Strome out. He's not our long-term second center. We need to get him out. We need to move him. What are we going to get for Strome? He's one of the Rangers' best players right now. And he is not the reason that this team isn't scoring 5-on-5. He's not. There are other reasons. It's not Strome. Trouba, 30 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points, +2. He's one of the heart and soul guys of this team. And he's 14 points. He's a half a point a game defenseman. That's pretty good. He's becoming the offensive driver that we wanted from him when he first came over from Winnipeg, and he's finally evolved into that. Gaudreau, 30 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points, +1. His eye's looking better, so that's good. Not fully healed yet, but he'll get his eye back soon. And say what you will about Gaudreau, he is not an offensive player, so when there's injuries and he's in the top 9, you kind of have to groan a little bit because you know he's not going to help drive the offense. So I think Gaudreau makes a fantastic fourth-line center. He's paid way too much, and I said that last time too. But for this team, the way it's constructed, fourth line is the spot for Gaudreau. It's just that he's going to win faceoffs, and he's going to help that fourth line just grind away at the other team. Kakko, 26 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points, +4. Kakko, it's interesting. He had a rough first season. Last year, his defensive play was much better, and now in his third season, he's not putting up the points that we hoped he would, but he is driving the offense. He's there. He's just not breaking through yet. 5 goals in 26 games, not exactly where you would like to see him. He's on pace for, 18 goals, which is fine, which is great. We'd love 18 goals from Kakko, but, the expectation for him has been a little more. I don't want to call him a problem on this team because he's not. He's just not generating at what we would have expected. Not a knock on Kakko. Again, some of these players they haven't broken through yet. Lafreniere, kind of similar to Kakko. 30 games, 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points, and he's a -4. So defensively, Lafreniere's not fantastic when he plays hockey. He's very much an offensive player, and he just hasn't broken through. He looks better this year than he did last year, so he is making that next step. It's just not quite where it needs to be. And if Lafreniere was drafted in the late first round, we wouldn't be talking about him as much. It's because he was drafted first overall that he's getting so much criticism. Is it unfair criticism? No. I mean, when you light it up in juniors and you come to the NHL, it's kind of expected that you're not going to light it up, but you're going to be better than this. I'm not going to dump on Lafreniere yet. 30 games in, we still have 52 games to play. Maybe he breaks through. If at the end of the season he still is playing similar to this, maybe we can have a conversation about that and how Lafreniere's not a bust. I'm never going to say Lafreniere's a bust. It's his second season. Calm down. He's not a bust. But what do we need to do to help ferry him along into the NHL? So sometimes it takes a lot longer for some guys. Rooney, 30 games, 6 goals, 1 assist, 7 points, +1. He's a great fourth-line player. Never going to complain about Rooney. I like Rooney a lot. Hunt, 30 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, and he's a 0 for ±. Is he a top 6 player in the NHL? No. Has he been playing decently for the Rangers? Yes. Is that going to last all season? No. Which is why the Rangers need to make a move. They need to replace Hunt. Not because he's doing poorly, but because he's not the player that they need in the top 6 if they're going to make it deep in the playoffs. Hunt's just not that guy. And again, not a knock on Hunt. We'll see. A couple names have been thrown around. Philadelphia is not sending Giroux to the Rangers, so stop that. Maybe it's Kessel from Arizona. Some people have been saying Riley Smith from Vegas, but I don't know why Vegas would do that. Their team is stacked right now. I really don't know. I think Kessel is top of that list right now, which would be fun. He's not a defensive player, but he's going to help push this offense a little bit. And maybe he wants to change the scenery from being in Arizona. Could be a good match. Who do we send to Arizona in response? that question remains to be seen. We can talk about that if you want. Hedl, 26 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, -2. I don't want to say this fan base is souring on Hedl, but if by the end of this season, Hedl has not progressed, I think there's a conversation to be had about him being part of a package to get a big player. I like Hedl. I wish he was playing better right now. Hopefully he breaks through, because if he's still playing not great at the end of the season, I think he's going to be a target, unfortunately for him. Reeves, 26 games, no goals yet, but 6 assists for 6 points, -2. I'm waiting for Reeves to score his first goal, because you know the team's going to go crazy. He's become one of the leaders on this team, and it's only his first season, but he just has that presence. He's just such an even-keeled guy. He doesn't take bad penalties. He knows his job, and he does it well. Miller, 30 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, -3. He works really well with Trouba. The Rangers have a fantastic top 4 for defensemen, and Miller is one of those guys. He's still a rookie, and he's just playing really well. He came into the league, and he just played well right from the start. He still makes mistakes. He's young, but Trouba's helping him along. Gautier, 21 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, -2. If you never watch Gautier play and you just look at these stats, you would be like, oh, okay, that's fine. You wouldn't look twice at him. But when you watch him play, man, is he a big body, and he's fast. He just needs to learn how to finish. If every single time he drove the net, it went in, he'd have 10 goals on the season right now. He's one of those guys that plays really well, and it doesn't show on the score sheet. Lindgren, 30 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, +9. +9. He has the highest plus-minus on this team. He plays with Fox. When he's on the ice, normally it's better lines, so he's playing with better teammates. But he is a defensive defenseman. He's not, if he scores 5 goals this season, nobody's going to care, because he's on this team because he is a grinding, hard-nosed defenseman that's going to make life difficult for the best players of the other team, and he does that job really well. Lundqvist, 21 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, +2. It's his first season. He's a rookie. This is a fast league. This is a tough division, and he's playing with Patrick Nemeth. So, yes, in theory, Nemeth is teaching him how to play the game verbally, not so much on the ice. And I don't want to, I don't want to crap on Nemeth too much. 30 games for him, no goals, 2 assists, 2 points, -7. Nemeth is this team's 6th defenseman. 5th, if you want to argue that point. I don't know why you would. He's bottom pair defenseman. Do we expect him to light it up and be amazing? No. Are there better options in this organization right now? No. Jones played a couple games last year, but we haven't seen enough to put a bottom defensive pair on the ice of Jones and Lundqvist. That is very dangerous, because Lundqvist is already going to make mistakes as a rookie. You put 2 rookies out there at the same time, you're just asking for trouble. The other team's just going to make sure that their top line is on the ice when your bottom pair is on, and they're going to score goals on you. Nemeth, he's a veteran, and he's got experience. So he's going to make more better plays than Jones will or Schneider will. I hope Jones and Schneider get a couple games at some point this season, because we need to know what we have, because Nemeth's not going to be on this team forever. But there you go. Those are the players. 19-7-4 is the record for the Rangers, which is 42 points, 2nd in the Metro. 42 points in 30 games. That is pretty good. The Rangers are on pace for, I forget what it said, they're on pace for 111, 112 points this season, which is, hey, that's very comfortably a playoff spot. We'll see what this team is over the next 10 games, for sure, especially these middle 6 games. that is going to be a slog, and it might be tough to watch. I'm going to stay up late for some of these games, and it might not be worth it. I'm looking forward to it. Goals for, 86, which is 16th in the league right now, which is down from 10th 10 games ago. Goals against, 77, which is 9th, which is up from 18th. So the Rangers aren't scoring as many goals as they used to, but they're not letting in as many goals either. So you trade one for the other. Goals for per game, 2.83, which is 17th in the league, which is down from 14th. So scoring is down for the Rangers over these last 10 games. Goals against per game is 2.53, which is 5th in the league, which is up from 9th. So again, Rangers playing much better defensively, but the offense has been lagging behind. Power play, 25.6%, 6th in the league, which is up from 12th. Penalty kill, 84.3, which is also 6th in the league, which is up from 19th. Say what you want about the Rangers goal scoring 5-on-5. They are a very good defensive team unless they're playing the Avalanche. 6th in the league for power play and penalty kill. A good special teams, if you add together the percentages, is 100 or better. This team, what's 25 plus 84? That's, the Rangers are 110 plus. Their special teams are elite. Elite special teams in this league. Hopefully that stays like that, because that might be what saves them in some of these tougher games, like it saved them against Arizona. Shots per game, 28.7, which is 27th, which is up from 28th. It's still bad, but it's better than it was. Shots against per game, 31.7, which is 19th, up from 21st. So, still not great, awful and middling, but better than it was. Any progress is good progress. Faceoffs, 47.2%, which is 27th in the league, up from 31st. They're still not getting up to 50% of faceoffs, but they're better than they once were. This team excites and terrifies me because you expect them to go into each game and at least fight for the win. They're not going to win every game, and they're not going to win every game in a beautiful fashion. But you expect this team at this point to go into each game and fight for the win. When they get demolished, it stinks. When they lose in regulation, it stinks. When they lose in overtime, it softens the blow. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Should be a win, should be a win. And then probably a loss. Toss up, toss up, toss up, toss up, toss up. Should be a win, should be a win. Like 5-4-1. That's my prediction for the next 10 games. 5-4-1. But they have a very comfortable cushion in the playoffs. So if they have a 10-game stretch where they play 500 hockey, I really don't think it's going to jeopardize their position at all. If they have a stretch of 20 or 30 games where they're playing 500 hockey, that's going to stink. But again, I really don't, at this point, the teams that are in playoff positions, at least the top 3 in each division, are pretty much the top 3 that are going to make the playoffs. It's the wild cards that are going to keep shuffling. So at this point, unless it becomes a disaster for the Rangers, they're probably going to make the playoffs. But again, I don't want to jinx that. So we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next rundown.